Hello, my name is Rene Castro, and welcome to Building Video Games with Python Lesson 2. In the previous lessons, we covered how to create the game object, which created our screen, as well as created the variable that we're going to need to associate all the other components we need in our video game. In this particular lesson, we're going to talk about probably the most fundamental game object that we need, which is an image object. Again, video games are all about pictures. We're also going to conclude with how do we actually update the game. So let's get to it. So before we can move on, we actually have to get our pictures. My apologies for this. Let's close some of this stuff out. So similar to the last lesson, I'm going to provide a link. Again, if you're in the classroom, I'm going to do it through Google Classroom. If you're on YouTube, this will be on the YouTube description. So I've created a folder where I've kept all the resources for this particular game. So let me show you how to get to that. So I'm going to copy this, go to the browser, paste the link. Okay, so we're here. So you can see here, there's some files here that we're going to use in previous lessons. You're more than welcome to download them all right now if you want, but the one that I'm looking for particularly is this one, the background. So I'm going to click here, right click on download, and just as in the previous lesson, this will typically go into your download folder. Again, it all depends on how you have your computer configured. So in my case, it did go to my downloads folder. And just like with the game library, one of the important things is that all our resources must be located in the same folder. So it's not enough to simply download the picture. We got to take the picture, do a right click copy, and I'll put the picture in the same folder that I have my other files, the game library as well as the file from lesson 1. Okay, now that you have that, we can start coding. So we're going to open up Python. I'm actually going to start off with lesson 1. But before I continue, you're more than welcome to continue on with the same file. I'm going to save it as lesson 2, just so I have a history of each lesson as we go and how each lesson was developed. Okay. The other thing I definitely recommend that you always have open is the game library, because we'll be doing a lot of exploration as to different objects that are in the game library and how we can use them in our video game. So I'm also going to open that. Having a little screen management issue here. That's okay though. Alright, so we imported the game library, which gives us all this code. We've created our game variable from our game object, which creates our window. Now we have to investigate another object from our game library, which is images. So we're going to scroll until we find that object. And you'll be doing that a lot throughout these lessons, kind of going through the game library, finding the stuff you need, looking how you need to use it, and then actually applying it to the game. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we have an image object, which is going to represent our images in our game. And as in with the previous lesson, there's this init function which tells us how to create a variable of this type of object, an image. And you'll see here that the first thing it wants is the path, which is the path to the picture file, this file that we just saved. So we got to tell the computer, okay, I want you to create a variable to represent this picture. So we got to tell it where it is. That's what's meant by the path. And then the second parameter is also an important one, which was the reason for creating this variable. All objects in our video games have to be associated with this variable. Again, this is the game screen, so we got to be able to tell the computer to draw these images, update these images, move these images with this particular game. Alright, so let's actually go through an example now. So because this is the background, I'm going to create a variable called BK. We could have actually used the whole word background, but that's more typing. So BK is sufficient to kind of signify that this image is meant to represent the background. So I'm going to write image. And again, the reason I write image is because in our game library, that's the name of the object, name of the class, image. Next thing it wants is the path. So I'm simply going to write z bk dot. Now it's important that you specify the type of picture it is too. It's not enough just to type in the name of the picture. So if you notice when we look at the picture over here on the file type, it tells us that it's a JPEG. So we're going to write JPEG. In future lessons, when we start bringing other pictures, you'll notice that not every picture is a JPEG. Some pictures will be a GIF. Some pictures might be a BMP, a bitmap. Other pictures might be a PNG. So it's important that you specify the right file type. Now, some students might be quick to just close this out, but this would be wrong. Again, if we go back to the game library, we see that when we create an image object, we must provide that game variable. So I have to put game here. So let's save it, Control S, and let's see what happens. Nothing happens. All we have is our game screen. But just like before, actually something did happen behind the scenes because we don't have any errors. So whatever we wrote was correct. So what exactly are we getting here? This is just a variable. A computer is stupid. It only does what we tell it to do, and all we've told it to do was simply to create a variable to represent this picture. We haven't told it to do anything else. So let's go back to our game library. Let's investigate a little bit more of what it means to be an image object. So if we scroll down our image object, we're going to see different functions, things we can do with the picture. So you can see here there's set image, which kind of implies we kind of maybe changed the picture. Collision, collided with. You'll see that in a future lesson. This is how we could check to see if two images have hit each other. This looks like it might be a useful one. Draw. So why don't we tell the computer to draw our background? Anytime you have a variable that represents an object, you always have to write the object first, the variable first. So if we want to do something with the background, we have to write BK first. So what exactly do we want to do with the background? Well, according to the game library, it sounds like we can draw an image. So let's tell the computer to draw the background. All right. So let's save it. Let's run it. You might say, still nothing. But I'm going to go back. There's no errors, so far we're still on the right track. I'm going to say it again. Computer is dumb. It has to be told to do everything. So what have we told it to do so far? We've told it to load up the game library, this line right here. We've told it to create a variable to represent a game object. We've told it to create a variable to represent this picture using an image object. We've told it to draw the background, which represents this picture. The last thing we have to do is we have to tell the game to actually update. Now, one of the things hopefully you'll pick up as we go along is that I'll try to say things in a very natural way to kind of give you the confidence that if you start to teach yourself a certain way of speaking when it comes to programming, the code usually comes out pretty close to what you're saying. So we're trying to update our game. So first thing we have to do is we have to go up to the game object. Again, that was the key thing I said right there. We have to update our game. So obviously it's something to do with the game object. Okay, I'm going to use page up. Just missed it. Alright, so we're going to go up to the game object. And now I'm going to scroll back down, looking for something that gives me the indication that we can update the game. I'm going to try to scroll down a little faster. And as you're going through this, you can see there's a lot of things we can do with the game, such as display the score, display the time, set music, play music. But I managed to scroll down to what we want to do. We want to update the game. So let's go back here. And just like we did with the image, if we want to update the game, the first thing we have to write is the variable that represents our game. So I'm going to write game dot update. Let's see what happens now. Voila! We have told the computer to load the library, create a variable to represent our game window, create a variable to represent our background picture. We told it to draw the background picture, and then finally we told it to update the video game. And you'll see that these are some basic steps that you'll be practicing a lot in future lessons. So let's go ahead and do a recap. So in this particular lessons, you practice creating variables for image objects, how to draw the image object, and also how to update the game. Kind of not listed in this objective. The other thing you've hopefully starting to pick up is how to reason what code you should look for by simply listening to what you're asking. Don't worry, future lessons we're going to start practicing that a lot more. But for this lesson, we've accomplished what we wanted, which was load the images, draw the images, update the game. Yeah, thank you.